Hello, everyone. Happy National Poetry Month and Legacy of Poetry Day. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is a handful of visual poems from my collection, The Science of Things Familiar, and then I'll finish things off with a 20-second poem. All right, let's get things started. Thanks for having me. The Domestic World, a Practical Guide. Diagram of your breath. Diagram of your touch. Diagram of a memory. Diagram of an argument. Diagram of a lost day. Diagram of all the times I've said this before. Diagram of where your eyes look. Diagram of an argument. Diagram of a day without fighting. Navigation. Diagram of what you asked. Layers. Diagram of why you think I'm lying. Diagram of what remains unsaid. And I'll finish things up with a 20-second poem for all your hand washing needs. All right, let's get started. When the pandemic ends, let's open a restaurant with nothing but billionaires on the menu. Juicy, tender billionaires. They've been fattening off our carcasses for years. So when the pandemic ends, let's eat those motherfuckers up.
Good afternoon. I'm Persis Karim. I used to be a professor at San Jose State, and I was one of the founding faculty members of the Legacy of Poetry Day. It started with an article that Annette Nellen and I did about Edwin Markham. So it's great to be with you all today, and I wish you a happy National Poetry Month, and I also wish you safe days ahead and hope that your family and friends are safe. And I also dedicate this to Jonathan Lovell, our dear colleague who passed away unexpectedly last week. The first poem is called Sanctuary. It was written in response to an exhibit in San Francisco 2 years ago around the theme of sanctuary. Here, the place where we speak their names in shadows and reflections, the trace of our belonging, in this refuge, still living in threads of memory, even when the infection of violence, chaos of a new explosion forces us to remember the dead, the hungry, the displaced, in Aleppo, Baghdad, Sana'a, San Francisco, Jerusalem. We carry this prayer on our lips. Hold your baby tight with the faith that someone will receive you, want to know the story of your life. Someone's hands will circle you, someone's heart will hold you, someone's nation will welcome you after someone else sought your erasure. We carry this prayer on our lips. In the requiem of light, you will be more than a displaced person. You will no longer be adrift in the open sea where your suitcase is the raft of your dreams, where your sacred prayer can float in the air of magnified hope, and the cycles of the universe cannot stir a flower without troubling a star. Here, where we can be one whole, moving in the canopy of the human. And the second poem I'm going to read is called Anthem, and I wrote this in response to the theme of sheltering for Mygozine, edited and curated by Eileen Casaneto, the Poet Laureate of San Mateo. Anthem. To stand in one place and shelter against the invisible and unknown is to stop the rolling wheel of my heart, seeking the next road, the next eye full of beauty. I was not meant to be fearful, to hold my love inside, indoors like a captive waiting to be unchained. I live for molecules and patterns, the architecture of a flower, the flight and song of sparrow, gull, cormorant, each animal and tree an anthem, the only true thing I want to abide.
I don't know about you all, but it seems like shelter in place has resulted in everybody being on the phone all the time. I know it's partly out of workplace necessities or out of isolation, but I find it kind of both maddening and touching and lovely how much checking in and checking up and just general back and forth calling is going on. And even when there's nothing going on and there's nothing to say, but I'm here, or I miss, or I love. So this shelter in place poem comes from that place. My mama is on the phone all day. Its chirps begin before the birds, with so many pressing things to say. She calls and listens, must weigh in, fires always multiply, transfer. My mama is on the phone all day. Between Zooms, no time to microwave her soup. No ring will she defer, with so many pressing things to say. The county reminds us to stay at home, neighbor, pastor, son, ensure that mama is on the phone all day. She dials her own mama, time zones away, where each, how you feelin' today, blurs. What were the pressing things to say? The line often drops, quiet, okay, or love, all to relay. For one word, mama is on the phone every day, with things too pressing to say.
Talking to the operator. 1950. I'm 16, freshman at a small Kentucky college. Breckenridge Hall, men's dorm, in the entrance at the bottom of the stairwell, one phone, long distance too expensive to use except to ask home for money. One late fall night, loneliness dark in the air, three of us just come back separately from somewhere, reluctant to go to bed, standing by the black instrument fixed to the wall, earpiece hanging from a black wishbone, connected by a brown wire to the box with a miniature megaphone-like thing jutting out. Big T. Gross says in Southern, "Let's call the operator. Let's call the operator and sing her a song." So he picks up the earpiece. Someone of the female persuasion answers, "What number are you calling, please?" Who was she? Young or old? Couldn't tell, but I imagined her young and pretty and lonely like us, sitting in front of all those wires, ready to plug something into something so someone could speak to someone. So we began singing, can't remember what. Some song we all knew, loud and boisterous, like good old Mountain Dew, soft and sweet. The moonlight shines tonight along the Wabash. Just don't remember. Anyway, after the song, we took turns chatting until some local made a call and she hung up on us to connect someone else to someone else. I've thought of her off and on through the decades, sitting by her midnight switchboard waiting. I've sung in many a fine concert with many a fine chorus, but this morning, this is the one I remember. And I seem to be hoping, the operator found the right number to plug in and went on unlonely to have a good life.
I'm reading two poems from my 1977 art book special project called Staying Home, a collaboration between Steam Press in Berkeley and the New York print artist, the late Lyman Piersma. I'll read the title poem first. I've decided to stay home this first green day of April. Outside, the light looks worn, drilled by fumes, eating through the cold like a nicotine stain. Inside, my breath fills these words with a longing for an importance they never should have, a gravity that outweighs all purpose, even the stars. Inheritor of swollen eyelids, of tight fists, of sore lips, that's all I am. I need to blink and to rest, to walk into the gray streets, to be held onto and to be comforted. When I speak, it is to the one half of my face that understands. Living off the land. I don't look at who I'm standing with. The line never seems to shorten. We shuffle across clouds of linoleum, hardly using our muscles. Our faces are creased like shoes. A cough at the back of the room blisters the small, awkward conversations. Between strangers, there are shrugs that have never fallen. The man at the pay window ahead of me wants to work worse than I do. Waiting on Jesus. This is a new poem. The Jesus in the poem is either our Savior or it is my gardener, Jesus Ramos. I worry about the world at 3 o'clock when the metering lights turn on 280 and I can't squeeze in behind a newish red Corolla that stopped for someone running through the traffic. Who do that? But I remember the silhouettes on those road signs. Then I see a scuzzy blue tent nestled in the shrubbery alongside the on-ramp. I'm already late getting home to meet Jesus, who's supposed to cut my lawn, unruly and beleaguered with leaves that need blowing. But I can't get through the slowdown. Seagulls and pigeons skulk atop street lamps, as they do before a storm, and huddle on the asphalt grade school playground. Shadows lengthen early as pale splinters of daylight slink into the dimming furrows of dusk. There's no one waiting when I get home. Jesus isn't where he's supposed to be. I cannot reach him on his cell phone. I've grown so tired of waiting for him. I have to get off my feet and let myself dissolve into the radiant tabloid arms that beckon me inside my front